most of the gear is for, hi, Big Mike. So most of the gear for Everest is going to be very similar to Kilimanjaro. And so I will point out occasionally, you don't really need this for Everest Base Camp. Okay, so just be aware of that. Otherwise, most of it's going to be very, very much the same gear for both trips. Okay. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we praise you for who you are. We thank you for this glorious day you gave us, Lord, the dry, cool air. Thank you for another day of life and another day of breath and to serve you through serving others. And thank you for everybody's here that are excited about adventure, but adventure with a purpose to help the people of Malawi through Child Legacy's Waterwell ministry. So bless each one of them, Lord, and help us all just get over any anxieties we have. And we know that, you don't want us to worry about tomorrow, but to take one day at a time. So that's what we're going to do, Lord. And we're going to trust you for each of those days as we go on this journey together. So thank you for the food. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, that's kind of, I've not heard of the juvenile or junior version.
Yeah, it's called porch.
Okay.
So hard to hear about it. Oh, good.
So I printed out the list that I used for Kilimanjaro.
We can share one.
Okay, yeah, great. Maybe for sure you need one. BC, sorry.
Say it be short, I can live with that one.
I can always print another one. Ready to go.
You never paused the recording, right?
No, I never did. Okay, thank you for asking. Okay, I will just occasionally take a bite now and then, but in the meantime, just be watching especially watch the upper right hand corner, or at least on my view, because that's where I'm going to be standing most of the time and picking up pieces of gear and talking about it. So I kind of lay things out a little differently than I normally do. I think what I want to start with is like, what are you going to normally have on a typical day of hiking? Okay, so let's talk about that first. Obviously, you want a good pair of boots, well broken in, and you can see what's on the list for what I've used. I've used something called Basque Breeze, but there's a lot of good boots out there. But I was recommended that in 2011, and I've gone through like 3 or 4 pairs of them now over the years, but they're a good brand. But there's other ones if you want to research. I got almost everything that in the very beginning from REI. I went there and they're very helpful. But there's a lot of other good companies out there too that provide stuff. Dolores, well, you hit it within a minute. So here's our equipment list. There's pizza in the kitchen.
Oh, thank you.
And we just started. We absolutely just started.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, set up more chairs if we need them, or put those around. What I was gonna do is I was just starting off with boots. Like I was like, hey, what is a typical day of walking looks like? Okay, anyway, this is Dolores and Jim Dunham. Dolores went to Machu Picchu with us.
Oh my God, it was amazing.
It was amazing, right?
Oh.
So this is Paul Donnelly. He's been on Kilimanjaro once before. This is BC. She just found out about it today.
Oh, wow.
She just found out about it today, and she's immediately here.
Oh.
This is Jonathan from Church Project. So, and you guys have been going to Church Project, right?
Yeah, when we're
Yeah.
in town.
And then Jerry and Nell, also from Church Project. You may have met them before. Bill Shannon, his wife. His wife Michelle is over there.
Oh.
So, yeah. Okay, I think everybody's here now.
Okay, I'm good.
Good. So anyway,
Thank you.
a good pair of boots, and I know Dolores knows about that because she went to Machu Picchu. We always recommend a broad rimmed hat, and the reason we go with a broad rimmed hat is, a lot of people like to put them. They think they're goofy looking, and they're like, let's use a baseball cap. Well, a broad rimmed cap can keep you from getting sun headaches, right? So sometimes you'll get a headache on the mountain, and you're drinking plenty of water, and you're going slow. And it's like, why do I have this headache? Well, maybe you just have a baseball cap or no hat at all, and you can literally get a sun headache. And so the best thing to do to avoid that, to help avoid that, is to wear a broad rimmed cap. Just minimize the amount of sun that's on your face. Okay.
Oh, is that waterproof? as well, or
Man.
any reason for that or not?
No, because if you have rain gear, we'll talk about that,
Okay.
you know, it doesn't need to be
Okay.
waterproof. And this is cotton, believe it or not, it's been to the top of Kilimanjaro 15 times and a few other places as well. And I put sewing patches on it, for different mountains. So anyway, the boots and the hat, two really important things right off the bat. And then obviously you're gonna be drinking water on the hike. And so a day pack, and it doesn't have to be anything big, right? Because you're not carrying much. You're only gonna be carrying here unless you want to. In 2012, we had somebody that wanted to carry like everything. And so he's just a really big guy from Canada. He was of German descent and he was like this tall. And he would swim like miles every day for training. And he just like, it was nothing. He ended up going to the top in shorts. This guy was amazing. But anyway, you don't need to do that. I've got so many stories. So anyway, this is in this case, I mean, there's a lot of different brands. This is you look at the list. I can't even remember what the brand is of this one. Anyway, I got it at REI. And the key thing here is you want to get one that fits you and they'll help fit you. Right, they'll look at what they have and your stature and you know height and everything, and they'll say, okay, I think this is a good one for you. And also, you know, they're very adjustable, so they'll help adjust all these different straps and everything to fit you well. And then inside of this is going to go your water. Okay, so there should be a place in here. This is a Gregory. Sorry, it just came to mind. Okay, Gregory. But there's a lot of good brands. You don't have to get a Gregory. But this is a 3 liter. In this case, the brand is a Camelback. And I started using these when I was doing the VP MS 150 many years ago. That was the first time I ever did any kind of fundraising. But this holds 3 liters. And they say recommended 3 to 5 liters of water drinking a day. So you have this 3 liters. And then, you know, in the morning, they'll serve you tea or coffee or whatever you want. In the lunchtime, they'll provide tea, and say with dinner, there'll be soups, like really good soups, especially at lunch and dinner. So start adding in all the soups and the teas and everything. You'll be pretty close to 5 liters if you've drunk all this plus that, plus the meals, the liquids that come with the meals. So, and this will slide into your pack, and there'll be a hole where you can run the hose through. So let's see, there's that hole right here. So there's a hole right here that you'll run the hose out through, so that and then it'll be outside of your pack, whereas the water's on the inside. So anyway, the pack is obviously critical. A lot of stuff is going to be critical, but that's certainly one of the ones that'll be critical on a daily basis for you. The other thing that I will have on me is a fanny pack. And, you know, if you don't want a fanny pack, you don't have to, but it's really handy for my cell phone, and it's really handy for like my snacks. Like if I make up some trail mix, you can either buy trail mix or you made up. I always make my own. I go, well, I like M&Ms and I like cashews and I like this, like that. And I just make up my own trail mix. So that'll fit in there well, and then my cell phone will fit in there. You know, and maybe I'll have some altitude medicine with me just in case, but normally certainly not the first few days. So anyway, a fanny pack is really handy for little things. You know, maybe if you're a little bit worried about your boots not being totally broken in, you know, maybe you want to have some moleskin with you, so you can put that in here also to protect your feet from getting a blister. So anyway, fanny pack. So everything you're looking at so far is what I'm going to have with me on a daily basis. And trekking poles. Now, oh yeah, anytime anybody has a question,
We interrupted.
online or here, please just raise your hand or just jump in.
What else is gonna go in it? Just rain gear maybe? Or you know,
Yes.
always carry that with.
Yeah, they want us to have rain gear also in there, which was up here. So these are rain pants. Sometimes I fudge and, you know, I'm looking at the weather and I'm thinking, rain jacket is probably more important than rain pants, you know, your upper body. I mean, getting your legs a little bit wet, usually in that, but your torso, you don't want that to get cold and get hypothermia, right? So this is my rain jacket. These are my rain pants, waterproof, obviously. So, you know, the other thing I put in here is the first day there's a real good chance we're gonna see monkeys, either blue monkeys or colobus monkeys, or potentially even both. So I'll have my Canon DSLR with me, which is pretty heavy, and then I'll have this 100 to 400 zoom lens. So that'll go in there. So I'm gonna have more weight than the average person, but if you like photography, you're photo buff and you want to bring that kind of stuff, or a digital camera besides your cell phone, just stick it in your pack, and we see a monkey, we're gonna stop and take pictures. So, did that answer your question?
Yep,
Pretty
you
good?
bet.
Okay,
You bet.
so trekking poles, it all depends on the individual. So the very first year I did Kilimanjaro, it's like, man, I got the trekking poles out, and I was the very first day, I'm using them, and I used them every single day going up and down. And then as the years gone by, I realized, doing the same route over and over, and you start realizing, well, gee, I don't really need them the first 2 days, so I just leave them in my duffel bag. We'll talk about that. And then on day 3, I'll pull them out. Well, I've gotten to the point is I don't use them at all anymore, except the very last day going down, because it's just right. You're going down from 16,000 feet at final base camp, and you're going all the way out to the Mweka gate, which is like at 5,800. So you're gonna go down almost 11,000 feet.
Wow.
The last day.
Oh.
Yeah, and so this could be helpful if your knees, bother you at all. One thing about Kilimanjaro compared to Machu Picchu was these steps made out of the granite rock of the Andes that the Incas had hewn out and created all these steps going up to this, peak, and then all the way down to Machu Picchu. And it was a killer. It was a killer on the knees, right? I mean, I had to have a cortisone shot in my knee when I got back, plus the artificial fluid in there. Kilimanjaro, it's normally a soft trail. So, and especially if it gets a little hard, if you get off the edge of the trail, it tends to be more gravelly and has give. So if you ever have any trouble with your knees, either on that trip or any trip for that matter, always look for softer spots. And the other thing is, if you start walking backwards, let's say you look ahead and it's, pretty straight, no boulders or anything in the way, just walk backwards a few steps. And that takes all the pressure off of that particular, the patella tendon. So, and you can get these things that you can wrap around your knee right in here that actually helps relieve some of that pressure.
Found those knee brace, neoprene looking
Yeah.
things really helpful.
They're really helpful.
They were like $10 on Amazon.
Anyway, these are adjustable, for those online, adjustable, these are, in this case, black diamond. They're very lightweight, Alpine carbon, it says. So, there's all different varieties. I got these at REI. And these tips on here, I usually take them off for the trip. They're really more to, I think, I mean, you can use them on the hike too, where it's maybe a hard surface, and then that kind of sponginess will grip it better. But then when it's soft, if you pull them off, it's more of a spike on there. I don't know. I usually just take them off for the whole trip myself. Okay, so we talked about the pack, and you're just gonna have to decide on the trekking poles. First time up Kilimanjaro, you just may want to have them with you every day. It's gonna be up to you guys. And then you get to the point, you realize, well, I don't really need these, they're kind of in the way. Some people find them almost more annoying than helpful. And that evening, just say, okay, I'm not using these tomorrow. And you just put them in your duffel bag and you don't worry about them. So, okay. So we talked about that. Possibly putting rain pants in, for sure putting rain jacket in, okay? So I'm going to talk about now in camp. So in camp, they recommend, now this is not going to apply to Everest Base Camp. So Everest Base Camp, I've done it 3 times. And this last time, I never even took the sleeping bag out of my pack, out of my duffel bag. The first year I went, you're in a bed, in a tea house, a bed, big thick blanket, and a pillow. And the first time I thought, okay, I'm going to get my sleeping bag. And I just got in the sleeping bag and slept on top of the bed and on top of the blanket. I didn't even use the blanket that they provided. Second time I went, I thought I got in and had the blanket on. I go, oh man, this is just hot. So I laid the sleeping bag out on the bed and just slept on top of the sleeping bag with the blanket over me. And this last November when I went, I decided I'm just going to sleep under the blanket. I don't need it. So this year, for those that are doing Everest Base Camp online, unless you get really cold easily, you don't need a sleeping bag for Everest Base Camp. You literally don't. You know, you can always, you know, wear long underwear and you have the blanket, if you ask me for a second blanket if you're that cold. But it saves space in your duffel bag and certainly weight. But for Kili, you need a 0 degree bag down is preferable, not 0 degree Fahrenheit, okay, not centigrade. Centigrade would be 32 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So you need a 0 degree Fahrenheit bag. And this, in first night, you're not gonna need long underwear or anything like that, but maybe by day 3 or night 3 or night 4, you know, I'll start wearing long underwear and this. And you're in the tent, you know, like if you're 2 of you in the tent, then you have that extra heat from having 2 people in the tent, right? But if you're just 1 person in there, it'll be a little cooler, but this is gonna be enough for you. Now they do provide a mattress. It's like a foam mattress. It's wrapped in very like naugahyde or something like that. It's kind of heavy duty plastic, and it's about this thick. And it's okay, but I find that this weighs nothing. Okay, this is some kind of styrofoam thing, but it adds a little extra comfort to your sleeping. So I bring this. You know, like I said, it just takes up space, and I'll bring some kind of pillow. This particular pillow, I think I might have got this from REI. I don't remember offhand, but it compresses way down. Yeah, it says REI on it. So when it's so by the way, you're not gonna pack your sleeping bag like this. I almost forgot. This has a stuff bag with it. So somewhere in here. So when you store a down sleeping bag, you want to store it so it's not compressed. It's not good for the feathers. So you put it in something like this. But for the trip, putting in your suitcase and in your duffel bag every day, you'll want to put it in a stuff bag. So it end up being a lot smaller, right? Almost forgot to mention that.
By the way, I rented one from Zara. I didn't take one.
Okay, yeah, good point. So there are some things you can rent. You can rent trekking poles, you can rent, you can definitely rent one of these. And I think you can rent these gaiters, and we'll talk about that here in a minute.
You can rent a duffel bag too.
And you can rent a duffel bag. So there's some things you don't want to buy because you don't think you're ever going to use them again. Just rent, okay? If you go to Zara's website, zaraadventures.com, they'll list all the equipment that they have available to rent. Now, I definitely wouldn't get the rain jacket because somebody did that one year and it was really heavy. It was this really heavy, thick rain jacket. It was just, you know, that's just more weight you got in your backpack, right? But see, the pillow compresses down for, you know, space saving. Yeah, but I keep it stored open, just kind of like a sleeping bag. So, now if we ever space camp, people, if you're there, you don't need the pillow, right? Because they provide a pillow in the tea house. Also, so we're kind of talking about camp stuff now. I also like some kind of camp shoe. So, you know, you've been wearing these boots all day, feet are kind of hot and they're tired, and you just want to have some. So I just have these camp shoes. These are Merrell's, I think. Yeah, these are Merrell's, but there's all kinds of varieties out there. I tried flip flops one year. That wasn't good. Too much uneven ground. Then I graduated to those clog things, whatever you call them, and that wasn't very good either. Finally decided, let me just find some lightweight, you know, super lightweight, like tennis shoe kind of thing. Okay, so any questions? No. Okay, so as you get up higher, you know, your head's maybe going to be a little chilly. So especially at night, when we're in camp, you know, the sun's going down, so you don't have to worry about sun headaches anymore. And also when we're going to be, the plan this year is to leave final base camp at 3 a.m. So it's going to be quite cold. It could be as cold as 0. We've tweaked it a number of times, and this is what Bruce suggests now. If we want to go into the crater, which we want to do. So here's our crater, right? I was starting to show this earlier, but so there in 2013, this is what it looked like. So that was the summit sign, which everybody hated that sign. So they went back to a much more rustic sign. But after we summit here, well, we'll go down into the crater, walk on top of this glacier, walk up to the edge of the ash pit, which is the very center of the volcano. So if we're leaving at 3 a.m., we'll get up here in time. but most people leave at midnight, okay, so if we leave at 3 AM, everybody will be gone. We'll be the only ones up here, which is ideal. August of 2014 was the only time we've ever done in August, and it was an hour wait to get your picture. And I said to Bruce, why? Bruce is my guide. So I have the same guide every single year, and he's awesome. And I said, Bruce, why? There's so many people here, you know? And he says, well, Europe all comes to Kilimanjaro because they all have August off. Europeans take the whole month of August off.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, we're not doing August anymore. So, but anyway, so we'll get up here after the crowds are gone, and then we'll go down, and there'll be enough time to see the glacier, the ash pit, and then head back to the final base camp, which is called Kosovo, 16,000. So this is 19,341. We'll go down 3,000 and 3,341 feet to get back to Kosovo camp, and we'll sleep there, have dinner and everything, sleep there, and the next day all the way out. But I kind of wanted to show you that. I took this in 2013, and that part of the glacier there is totally melted. It's not there anymore, and this is smaller. So, you know, you don't want to wait too many more years because there won't be any glacier to walk on if you want to do that sort of thing. So we decided after last year, better than camping in the crater. I did that in 2020 myself. So in 2020, the COVID year, I soloed it with the guides, of course, and I said I want to sleep in the camp in the crater. I didn't really sleep. It was just like pounding in my head all night from the elevation. I didn't have a headache. It's like this is sound. You can hear your heart beating in your head. And but it was still cool to stay in the crater. We tried to do that last year, and somebody was starting to run a little low on oxygen. So at midnight, we decided, no, we better not stay here all night. We'll just go down. So based on those two experiences and the normal experience of leaving at midnight to go to the top, we decided, he said, let's leave at 3 AM. The crowds will be gone, but there'll be plenty of time to see the crater and then get back to Kosovo camp. So that's the plan. But anyway, when you're leaving at 3 AM, you need some more, there's no sun out, right? So you need a nice warm hat like that. So that was a long way of explaining why we need
So if we wanted, I mean, that's a cool hat. That's a great souvenir. Could we buy that somewhere? I don't want yours. Can we?
Well, after this trip next year, you'll go with me to Everest Base Camp and you can buy this in the fall.
I mean, okay.
Oh,
See how I did that?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I think there'll be opportunities to get stuff like, do you remember
Is there a Kili? Is there a Kili?
did anybody remember seeing any in the souvenir shops, a Kili hat like this?
You know, we stopped at that store on the way out, but I don't remember on the way in. I would take one and
Yeah, I
find
would-
one.
okay. I would take one, but then if there's an opportunity to buy one at the end of it, so
Yeah.
we'll have a whole rest day there as a souvenir,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
You probably need to pick it up then.
Yeah, okay.
So the other thing kind of at night, since it's 3 AM, is unless it's a full moon. I mean, one year the moon, it must have been a super moon or something. I don't know what it was, but it was so bright, nobody needed headlamps. We went up from midnight all the way to the sunrise without a need for a headlamp. It was incredible. It was so bright. So anyway, and these are really, really cheap. You can get these things like for $5 or $6. I don't know if there's batteries in there. No, I took the batteries out so they wouldn't wear out in there. But anyway, this has got like 3 settings on it or something like that. But anyway, you'll definitely need a headlamp. That's a must. Everest Base Camp. You will not need a headlamp except for when we go up to Kalapatar. So we go up to Kalapatar, we go up to Kalapatar to see the sunset on Everest, and then we come down, and so the sun's already down, and it can get a little dark, maybe the last half an hour to an hour coming down from Kalapatar. And that's the only time you need a headlamp, except in the tea house if you don't want to fuss with and also applies to us too. When we're in the tent or when we're in the tea house, this is handy. It keeps a hand free, right? So if you have a flashlight, your hand's being used up for the flashlight. With this, you got light plus 2 hands are free. So now Jason Shepard gave me this last year, something kind of different. It's called a lamp. Well, it's a lamp. It's a light bar. So I don't know if this thing is even charged up or if it has I might have taken the batteries out of this too, but this whole thing lights up all the way across there. And I've never used it on Kili, but I did use it this year coming down from Kalapatar, actually, at Everest Base Camp. So anyway, this is called a light bar. I don't think it's on the equipment list. So you might want to make a mental note of that. If you
Any
want.
idea what the battery time on that is or duration?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No, it's a good question. I only, I only used it for like an hour on Kilimanjaro, so I don't know, but I would definitely bring anything that requires batteries, bring extra batteries. Okay, whether it's a regular headlamp, spotlight, or a light bar. And we can, after the meeting, we can put some batteries in and just show how it works. I know it's not equipment, but make sure you have a passport that's doesn't expire more than less than 6 months before the last day of the trip. So we'll be back in Houston on August 1st. Your passport needs to be expiring at least 6 months after August 1st, 2023. So just
You recommend having little bags for all that, so
I do.
waterproof stuff?
yeah, I tend to, you'll see, I have all these clothes and everything. Well, it's more for dust. Okay, it's, you won't see a lot of dust, but after day 2 or 3, it's like everything's got dust on it. It's like, where does dust come from? It's so fine. It's like volcanic dust, very, very fine. And so I try to put as many things in these plastic bags. And then, the outside of the duffel bag will be dusty and everything, but at least when I open this up and pull out the, underwear
I
stocks,
think the
whatever.
bags make easier packing.
And
The
right.
stuff bags.
It keeps things organized. It keeps things organized. Very good point. So depending on how cold your hands get, I used to tell people they have to bring these. Okay, so in 2013, we were on a different route called the Rongai route, and we had 13 of us, and we just got started. And this lady that was she was the fittest person on the whole team. Well, she was probably second fittest, but she was super fit. And she says to me, "I got to turn around and go back." And I go, "Why?" Because my hands are cold. And I said, "Well, where are your mittens?" And she says, "I didn't bring any mittens." So here she had spent all this time and money to go, and then she didn't get. And I really think you should have mittens. They can be expensive, but actually, when I went up this last year, of course, we left at 5 a.m. So we had a different plan. Sleep in the crater and all that. The sun was up within an hour. I never needed the mittens. I just used gloves. But by leaving at 3 a.m. though, I'm going to recommend you should get the mittens. Everest Base Camp people, you don't need mittens. Just get some heavy gloves. Okay. I got to remember that there's a couple differences here as we go through this. So, last year, like I said, we left at 5 a.m. So I was able to get by with some heavy gloves, not mittens. And mittens are nice because you can not only are your fingers together, right, to help each other stay warm, but you can also slide in easily hand warmers, and you can get a hand warmer in there. I don't have any hand warmers to show you, but if you're really concerned about your fingers getting cold, I would definitely get the mittens, and I would definitely get hand warmers, the stuff in there for that. And you're only going to need it that one night. That's it. You're not going to need it any more the rest of the trip. And then you might want to have some lighter weight gloves. Again, not required. Lighter weight gloves for in camp at night. During the day, so 2 years in a row, I was getting these weird rashes on my hand. I thought, what is that? And as soon as I got off the mountain, within a day or two, the rash was gone. And I thought, what was that? And somebody said, well, maybe it's from the sun. So the next year I got these super lightweight trekking gloves, and I've never had a problem getting the rash again. So somehow or another, I was reacting to the sun, which I've been in California for many years in my life, and in the desert, and I've never had that happen before. So, but these are kind of handy just to protect your hands a little bit. It's not certainly, again, not required, but if you want to feel like you can see I've used them a little bit. They got holes in them, but that's good for using your cell phone, right? Because then your finger so I would recommend some kind of neck gaiter thing. So for those, and the same thing for Everest Base Camp. You can't see the dust, but it's everywhere. It's glacial dust at Everest, and it's volcanic dust on Kilimanjaro. And I hate wearing this thing because my glasses will fog up. But you wear something like this, and it's going to keep a lot of dust out of your sinuses and your lungs. But if you wear glasses, it's just a pain, because within 5 minutes, you can't enjoy She's taking pictures.
We know, because we all
It's
wore
already
masks
steaming up.
for a couple of years, we wore those masks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is gonna help prevent you getting, a lot of dust in your lungs and in your sinuses and stuff like that. So I would get some kind of balaclava, or neck gaiter, I should say. I told you about trail mix, how I have that probably in my fanny pack. You might, if you like other little snacks, like these little to-go chips, if you like peanut butter, these are great, man. I tell you, I'll probably eat one of these a day as a snack on the trip. Now that's a pretty small container for trail mix, and so I usually make it up in this amount, and then I'll pour some of this in here. I never use all of it. I'll give it to the guys along the way. I can see that I'm not gonna use it all. They love it. This is to make up a little energy drink. So I love Spark. I've been using Spark energy drink. I have it every day actually, just to wake up in the morning. Instead of coffee, I'll have Spark. Sometimes in the mid-afternoon, I'll have some Spark, but I'll have this, and I'll make some of this up for in the morning. And I usually have a container of Spark in that morning. This is more for the guys, a pee bottle. So, in the middle of the night, if you have to go, it's like, it's 20 degrees out, and you just don't want to get out of your tent.
That's not fair.
Yeah, it's not. But Michelle,
There's an option.
there's an option for women that Michelle,
Girl.
go girl, and Michelle can take you in a little private place and she can explain how it works. Okay, go girl. Okay, there you go. I'm glad you're here. That's the main reason I had you, because I didn't want to talk about all that. So I'll have a couple of duffel bags. You're allowed about 35 pounds. Okay, that's how much the porters, there's a porter society that protects the porters and all that from, being overworked, right? And, you don't want to give the porters so much weight that it ends up getting injured. So they have a whole system there to control all that stuff. So if I see that I'm going to be over 35 pounds, and I always am, because I bring extra things like our banner, we'll have for those that haven't seen it before, we'll have a banner with all of our community partners on it. And then I'll have individual banners. So I already have Sterling Ridge Orthopedic. They're one of our partners this year. So I'll have a whole set of these, one for every community partner. So we'll take pictures at the summit. And we'll have everybody sign these. So before the trip, like the night before when we're in Moshi at the hotel, I'll have everybody sign it. And you can say thank you or just sign your name or whatever. And we'll present these to the community partner when the trip's over. But anyway, I always have extra weight, mainly because of these banners. And so I'll just hire an extra porter for $100. For $100, you'll have a whole extra porter for 8 days.
Wow.
So, yeah, and that's a blessing to them.
Yeah, you're right, it's job.
Because whenever you go to the start of the thing, there's always gonna be a bunch of guys looking for work, waiting to be hired, right? So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So if you want to bring extra stuff and you don't care about paying an extra $100, it makes it maybe easier on you. You don't have to fret over, do I got too much weight, or and knowing that you're helping people out, right? For those that go to Church Project, which is a lot of us here, we're actually 3, and you guys, at the end of the trip, everybody that's ever been to Church Project signs this flag. So it's a flag, it just says Church Project on it, right? So that's just, and I'll have that in my bag as well. So I have a lot of extra stuff, right? Okay, so we've talked about kind of this area. Flip flops. Again, I don't wear these on the mountain, but like in the hotel and on safari, when we're on safari, you may want to wear these. You don't know what kind of funguses might be among us there. And so for Everest Base Camp especially, there's opportunities to take showers along the hike. So flip flops are good for you guys. Okay, I have a little toiletry kit that I use on the plane. I have maybe toothpaste, toothbrush, comb, maybe some Ambien to sleep on the plane, floss, eye shades for on the plane. Obviously, I won't carry that on the mountain. I don't need that. But I'll have some little container like this that serves a dual purpose, both on the plane going over there and back, as well as nightly on the mountain. Okay, I bring TP, just you know, this is more for like during the day, hiking if something comes up and I need to have TV, right? But when we're in the camp, they set up a porta potty for us. And depending on the size of the group, it might be 2 porta potties, and they'll provide the TP. Sometimes they'll run out and you just have to yell, bring some TP, you know? But this is more for during the day, so this might be something else that'll go into my pack actually, in case of an emergency. So in camp, probably should have put this with the in camp stuff, but baby wipes. I used to use the sanitized ones. What do you call those? But they leave a residue. You know what I'm talking about, like the hand sanitizer type wipes. They leave kind of a funny residue, and somebody suggested these, which don't leave a residue. So if you wanted to like do a quick sponge down before you go to bed and put it. I always put fresh clothes on when I get into the sleeping bag at night, so I don't have to worry about it in the morning. So I'll do a sponge bath with baby wipes. Pretty handy, actually. So this kind of goes with clothes. This is just a dirty clothes bag, not required by any means. I mean, this is kind of a nice to have or considered to have kind of thing. So again, it keeps your dirty clothes separate from everything else. Oh, here's another thing that can go on your backpack. Probably not as required for Everest Base Camp since we're in tea houses with light switches. But in the middle of the night, if you have to get up and use the restroom, sometimes they've got the power shut off because everything's run by solar and they're trying to conserve. But this is a Lucy, and it's got solar panel here, and then you blow it up. And actually, if you pinch it, a lot faster. So it's hanging on your tent flat, right? You have it hanging and you make sure this is out, so it's getting us charged up by the sun. And then when you get into your tent, it's a lantern. So let's see. It may not have any charging anymore. I mean, it's been a while. No, it does.
Oh, wow.
It's got 3 settings, and this is really cool to hang this in your tent. And then you don't even need to worry about the headlamp.
You could read with that.
Yeah, you could. Yeah. So it's called the Lucy. Somebody gave this to me after 2014. He said, Mike, you ought to have this. So he gave it to me. And it's worked ever since 2014. It's amazing.
REI have that, I think.
Oh, I'm sure. Or
Yeah, and I think we got ours from Amazon.
but yeah, Amazon. Yeah, that's true. Need to turn it off now. Is it gonna turn off? There we go. Okay. So anyway, this can hang on your pack during the day. So you see, keep adding little links. Okay, so now let's talk a little. So obviously you want to have socks and underwear and shirts. I mean, the first 3 days, and pants or something. First 3 days, I'm not wearing sandals, but first 3 days I'll be in shorts, almost for sure, and a short sleeve shirt. So
For which shirt?
we're talking for both. Yeah,
Thank
whether
you.
it's Kili or Everest, I'll be wearing
Thank you.
shorts
Okay.
and a short sleeve shirt. I like these safari quote unquote type shirts because they have all these extra pockets and stuff. And like these pants, there's a pocket there. I'll probably actually have my cell phone there rather than the fanny pack. But there's lots of pockets in both of these. And so for 3 days, I'm kind of doing that. And I'll use these wicking shirts, polyester type shirts. I think they make cotton. That's wicking now. That's what Jennifer says. But I just been picking these souvenir shirts up for years. And underwear. So I go with the 100% polyester rule, and it'll dry up much faster if you sweat. Day 2 will sweat more. Day 2 is one of the harder days because you come out of the forest and you're starting to get the exposure from the sun, and you're still low enough in elevation. It's kind of warm, right? It's kind of warm, and so you're going to sweat quite a bit on day 2. And so I would almost say that's the second hardest day before the summit day, and everybody makes it. So don't worry about that. Everybody makes day 2. But I'm just kind of giving you a heads up on that. So that's one of the reasons why I wear shorts and short sleeves. I'm just going to be sweating. I know I am. So what I've been doing in terms of socks for years, which was recommended to me, is I have these liner socks, which I think are polyester also. So I'll wear this, and then depending on at what point of the trip I'm at, I have 3 different thicknesses of smart wool. These are called smart wools, and there's kind of And I kind of wish they weren't rolled up like that. There's kind of that looks like the medium one. So you can kind of tell how thick they are. So this is obviously the thinner one. So we got smart wools, socks. So I'll wear these maybe, and I breed one for every day. I mean, some people don't feel like they need to do that, and that's fine. You don't need to. But over time, I've decided I just like putting on clean stuff every day. So smart wool, that's for maybe day 1 and day 2. And then for maybe day 3, 4, and 5. Or maybe I'll even go to day 3 on that. I can't remember. I'll have to look, but certainly day 5 and 6, I'm into this kind of medium heavy one. And then day 7 and day 8, I go with a super heavy. So day 7 is the final summit push. So it's warmth, right? You're gonna have a lot warmer feet with these super thick socks. And then going down, even though you're going from 16,000 feet all the way down to 5,500 or whatever it is, I like wearing the thick socks for that day too, because now you're going down and your feet are, oh yeah, almost forgot. I almost forgot. You want a pair of boots that's one size bigger than everything. Okay.
Yeah, it blanked out. Yeah, it does it.
It looks like it's recording there. Oh, there's something. What is that? Oh. My Apple ID is being used by another device. What I forgot to mention when I was talking about boots, I just glad I remember that. You want one size bigger. I wear size 9, these are size 10s. Because your feet are going to tend to slide forward. You're going to try to secure your laces really well, but they're going to tend to slide forward. And having the thicker socks is going to give you a little extra protection on your toes. I mean, I've lost my big toe, 3 or 4 nail, not the toe, but the nail. Sorry. I
Waiting for that.
Yeah.
I do a Smith.
I've done it several times where I tell people, "Oh, you lost your toe?" No. Anyway, I've lost a toenail a few times. I didn't lace it up hard enough, or I don't know what happened, but this will help a little bit with offsetting that potential problem.
So Mike, those don't look waterproof. They
No,
look
no.
waterproof?
No, none of this is waterproof.
No, the boots don't have to be.
Actually, that particular latest one that I bought like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, that is waterproof.
Oh.
Yeah, I was surprised. They said it was waterproof.
We're not doing any creek fronting.
No. I mean, there's a couple places where we'll cross some creeks, but there's little stepping stones we can get across.
I meant not, stepping in deep water.
And that's the thing about rain. I mean, I've done it 15 times. We've never really had any significant rain. You get in the rainforest though, it'll be like kind of drizzly. So there's a little dampness, but never, I think only once or twice has it sprinkled enough to put on the rain jacket. Didn't that happen with us?
Yeah, and you have to remember, once you up to a certain elevation.
Yeah.
There's no clouds.
You're above the clouds. Yeah, we're above the clouds a lot of the time, right?
But they always, that's some, whatever reason, they know when it's gonna rain, they'll say, okay.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Okay, before you put the socks
Yeah,
away,
sure.
you have liner and then the socks.
Yes.
You're doing the liner every day.
Yeah.
Underneath the
Yes.
sock.
Every day.
Okay.
That's how I did, I wore the outer sock maybe 3 days. Cause I'm a pig fan, so.
Yeah.
I had to take the liner sock inside.
You could buy with one thin.
I'm probably overkilling it.
Yeah, you could,
Weight line.
I think I may have only had.
Oh, liners are just,
But I had all those.
Yeah, I got these that are already.
are they cotton or are they silk or something?
They're not silk, they're probably
They're
just
just really.
the smart wools are wool.
Yeah, those are
These
like
are
that.
like really thin.
These are called Fox River
Okay,
brand.
yeah, I'll have them there.
Yeah.
They're really great, okay.
Yeah, I like using them. Some people say, oh, well, they make me have blisters, but they don't.
They don't, if it's inside that other sock, you
I had
don't.
one blister in 15 trips.
Yeah.
I think these are gonna help you with having blisters, that's all. Okay, so at night, not the first night, Everest Base Camp people as well as Kelly, not the first night, but maybe by night 2 or 3, I'll start wearing long johns inside my sleeping bag. So I think so I have the same pair I wear every night, and then for the final summit night, I have a fresh pair. So, yeah, I have two pairs, not necessary, obviously, but if it's me. Being extra clean, I guess. Another thing to consider, that you may want to have is these things called, well, these are called hot chilies. They're like a long underwear, but they cling to you. You know, they really cling to you, whereas these tend to be a little looser. But I usually, for summit night, I'll have these on. And maybe depends on how it seems the coldest that particular trip. But I might, like when I slept in the crater camp, I wore these and the long johns and then inside my sleeping bag. I think it'll get too hot if you have both. But if you want to have something more skin tight, these hot chilies are nice. I mean, they're like an extra layer of skin on you. So just a thought. Now, the other thing is, to protect maybe your face a little bit and maybe keep your face a little warmer for the final summit again. And again, you only need it for like 3 or 4 hours. Is something like this, you know, that keeps a lot of your side of your ears and everything extra warm. And then you can have this on top of that, right? But I will have my backpack with me and I'll have that hat with me because coming down, you know, we'll be back in the sun and stuff, so I won't be wearing any of this stuff. Okay, what else do I want to talk about? Okay, that was balaclava. Call that. Okay, and then I think you can rent these, but these are called gaiters, and you're Velcro. So you'll have your boot on, and then you'll step into it kind of like this with your boot on and wrap it around. And this is going to be really helpful for going down from the summit to Kosovo camp, because it's going to be really loose gravel about this thick in most places. And you're going to be going down really fast. I mean, you're just going to be flying. It's amazing. And your steps are going to be huge, right? You just have to watch for those hard rocks that are sticking out once in a while. You don't want to get those. But anyway, these will keep rocks from going inside your boot. That's the whole idea of these, right? However, I will say that on final summit, so I'll have on, you know, underwear, long underwear, and then a heavier pair of pants. Oh, let me back up. I mentioned that short sleeve shirt and shorts first 3 days. Okay, on day 3 or day 4, I'll convert over to long pants. Again, so these safari type pants, they have all these pockets everywhere, right? The only thing about a lot of pockets is you lose things. It's like, I know it's on this one. I can't find it. You know, you'll have like 6 pockets here, 6 pockets, like you have 12 pockets trying to find something. You can't remember where you put it, right? That's the only disadvantage of that kind of shirt. But I'll go with the long sleeve shirt and pants, but on day 4. And again, that's just me from experience. But then getting back to summit, so day 4, 5, and 6 will be that. And then on day 7, you know, when we're starting to have more cold and everything, we're going up at 3 a.m. I'll have the long underwear on, like I said, and these kind of heavy pants. They're quite thick, and it's on the list. And actually they're long enough. I found this last year that I didn't need the gaiters. They went all the way down to here, and I didn't use the gaiters, and I didn't get any rock in my boots. So that would be a savings of expense if you're going to have a heavy pair of pants anyway. These are way heavier than the safari. If you're going to be getting something like this anyway, then skip getting that. So that's just and then this is a heavier shirt than this. Okay, but that's not going to be enough. My legs hardly ever get cold, right? It's always the upper body. So I used to do what they call a tri-climate jacket. And I have found, you know, more and more after I do this, I don't know if I'm just putting more fat on me or something. I don't know what it is, but I use now just a puffy jacket. Very first 2 years I was so paranoid about the cold. I had this like a down parka. I got so hot on some nights, unzipping this thing, so hot. And then I went to something called a tri-climate jacket, which is like a 2-layer jacket. And even I found, I don't even need that. If I have long underwear on. And, you know, a regular undershirt, you know, like one of these. And long underwear over that, and this. I don't need that tri-climate jacket. I've gotten to the point where I can just get away with this puffy jacket. Which is quite warm. This is a Patagonia. You know, it's got the hood too, which is gonna help keep your head warm and everything. And this is also really handy in camp in the evening when it chills down really fast. Instead of putting all those layers on, you can just get this on. So I'm sold on the puffy jacket. Okay, man, that might be it. I bring a little first aid kit just in case, you know, it's got some, you know, antibacterial in case you get a little cut or something. It's got some moleskin in it, a few odds and ends, bandages. I hardly ever use it. I just have it. They'll have all that. The guys are gonna have a ton of this stuff, but I always just bring it just in case, I probably don't need to. So this is the Sterling Ridge t-shirt they gave me. And so I'm gonna try to get a t-shirt from every community partner this year. And I'm gonna bring them all the way up to the top. Or we have one of the guys carry them up there and I'll take a picture with me wearing the shirt, all the different shirts. What would be really cool is to have all like 8 of them on. And just start peeling them off, you know. Wouldn't that be funny? I would love to be able to do that, but I think I'd be so hot.
You could be like Elias and go down to your swim trunks.
Yeah, but he did. Yeah, my grandson that I took in 2021, he had goggles, you know, like a snorkel and swim trunks. Yeah, he took everything off except that. Yeah. Other things to think about are like maybe, again, it's all about layers. It's mostly about layers, but you know, if you're worried about it, maybe bring a fleece, some kind of a fleece as an extra thing. You know, just see what you have around the house, right?
Like the only comment I had on a coat.
Yep.
Everybody does a little different, but on the last night when it's cold, I put my Camelback inside my big coat.
Oh, yeah.
Cause you get a little challenge sometimes with the water pipe freezing or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I've got an insulated tube and I would put it inside my coat and then blow it back into the Camelback and tuck it back in my
Right.
jacket.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
mention that on the hike, but I'm glad you brought
Oh,
it up.
sorry, I didn't.
Well, no, that's okay. The other thing is, I will probably have a couple of extra water bottles like this with me. And that's another thing that works really well on summit night. Fill them up with water and put them in your pack upside down. And then, because it'll freeze up here first, right? And then, so if your Camelback, this hose freezes up and you can get insulated hoses. I forgot to bring it down to show you, but like he said, you always blow the water back in after you've drunk, but I find that even then, even with the insulated ones, somehow, somewhere, there's a few drops of water that freeze and stop it. But if you have this as backup, then you can, you turn it over like this and you have all this water, maybe that much. Now, the fact that we're leaving at 3 a.m., again, instead of midnight, that's 3 less hours that the water is going to be exposed to super freezing temperatures. So thanks for bringing that up.
How low is the temperature usually get?
I would say if you were at the summit before sunrise, it's probably 0 degrees. Yeah. But we're gonna get up there in daylight, so, and we're not gonna be that high, 3 a.m. we're gonna be at 16,000 feet, not 19. So I would say, maybe 10 degrees. It's always gonna be different, but it's gonna be well below freezing.
It depends on the wind too.
It depends on the wind, we haven't had too much wind. The only really bad year for wind was when Shepard went with us. And, wouldn't you know it, he goes and he's always telling everybody how horrible it was. Then, so, Michelle, she's not here. Can you think of anything, or Paul?
I've got some
Yeah,
questions.
please ask the questions. Yes, don't
Okay.
hesitate.
So, I think I'm gonna hire 2 porters just because, so then how would that work if I have 2 porters? Do I have an extra bag then?
Well, you don't have to.
Because what
So
would
why do
they,
you need a second porter?
because I'm
Do you
afraid,
think you're gonna have 2 duffel bags?
I'm afraid of being very short of breath when I get up high and I might need to hang on to 2. Because when I was in the Andes, I felt it's really short of breath.
So that's
That's probably, I discussed it, that's the Anna Briones
Story.
summiting plan.
Yeah,
She had two guys.
she had two guys,
and
one on
Anna's-
each side that
Anna's
basically
pretty
helped walk her up to the top.
You grab two guys and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
And she made it, you'll have,
I'll be worth it.
you'll have lots of help.
And when you mentioned the, well, I'm a nurse, the DSAT, or the people's oxygen saturation was a little bit lower.
One person.
Do I need to bring like a portable oxygen saturation, or how would you know that it was lower?
So
Was you looking blue or?
Yeah, maybe. So Bruce will have an oximeter with him.
Oh, Bruce is the guy.
Yeah, he's our guy. So here's what happened last year. So I have a story from every year. So
Okay, I
last
love
year,
this.
last year, we're at the very beginning of the trail
Uh-huh.
and there's no wood around, right? There's no wood. And
Uh-huh.
there's Bruce putting this giant oxygen cylinder into his pack on the very bottom, the very first day.
Mhm.
And I'm telling the other three with me, see, he's putting oxygen in there, but we're not gonna need it. We've never had anybody ever need oxygen in 14 hikes before this, right?
Mhm.
Of course, lo and behold, we're in the crater.
yeah.
And it's 10 o'clock in the evening and he's checking people's oxygen just to make sure everybody's okay.
Oh.
And this one guy's was like in the 60s. Well, mine's 72 at the summit and I feel fine. But this guy was bigger, taller, like Jonathan here. And so the taller you are, the lower that number is, it gets to be questionable. So he wasn't even sure whether we should take him down or not. But we decided to, and so we all, pack up and Logan, that was his name, he and a guide are a little ahead of us, and then we catch up with him. And he's got the little things in his nose,
Mhm.
and he looks at me and goes, Mike, I feel like I'm in heaven right now. But it was so funny because I've never actually had that happen where, I said, nobody's ever needed oxygen before. It's like, I should have had some wood around, but I didn't.
Oh,
But it's a
well,
great
that's
story.
good to know
Yeah.
that they have the.
They have oxygen,
Okay.
they have the oximeter. I mean, if you want to bring your own personal one, you can.
No, if somebody else has it.
Yeah, but
that's
again,
gonna be
if
heavier.
you're worried about, if you want two porters, you can, but there's no reason to unless you have a lot of stuff and you
Yeah,
just want to bring a lot of
true.
extra layers and you're well over 35 pounds, sure, get a second order for $100.
Like you said, if you need oxygen, you have to go down.
Well, I guess so. We've never had anybody need oxygen except when we were in the crater at 19,000 feet.
Yeah.
So,
So down.
which we're not gonna be. I mean, we're gonna go up and then we're gonna go down. We're gonna see those two things I showed you and then we're gonna go down.
We had Andrew, remember, he was sick.
Yeah.
And then when he got up to a certain point,
Yeah.
I checked his O2, and he's like the most fit guy ever.
Yeah.
Mr. Karate kung fu guy,
Yeah.
but it just got him, and so they just brought him home.
Well, he probably had altitude sickness.
Huh?
Did he have he had altitude sickness?
Yeah, he had like a upper respiratory.
Oh, that's true. He had caught something.
Yeah, and then it just got worse and worse.
Yeah.
And they checked him and they go, oh my gosh, it's like 50 something.
We had Chet, Chet had the first time I went with him without you.
Yeah.
He was a guy that lived at 10,000 feet in Colorado. on
Yeah, all the
bike.
time. Yeah.
So altitude sickness is a little bit unpredictable.
So we'll talk a little bit about, well, we'll definitely cover it when we do our April 1st meeting, which is preparing for Africa. Right, preparing for Africa is gonna be like dress, how do you dress and just everything, right? But it's also gonna include, we're gonna talk about, vaccinations and medicines. Like, you don't need a COVID vaccine, so don't worry about that. And hopefully even the time we go, they won't even require you to have a negative test anymore. I don't know. I mean, it keeps getting less and less, restrictive
Mhm.
on all this. When we went to Peru, we actually had to have a test to come back to the United States. And 5 people tested positive.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, but we were able to get around it, so we won't, I should have said that on.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll talk about 2 things that I really want everybody to have with them when it comes to altitude. And so maybe that we can talk about that here, because the other things pertain to just being on travel, right? So Diamox is for altitude headaches. And Zofran is for altitude nauseousness. I would highly recommend that you get those 2 prescriptions as insurance. Very first year I went, of course, most of you don't know the backstory, but 35 years ago, I was climbing Mount Whitney in California, had the worst headache in my life. We're like 13,000 feet, I'm already getting a headache.
Mm.
And And then I met that guy in the plane who had climbed Kilimanjaro for a charity, and that got the wheels turning. He said, "Oh, 19,000 feet." I never could do that. And he said, "Haven't you ever heard of Diamox?" Because I told him about my headache.
Oh.
And of course, I learned a lot more. We went up way too fast, and we didn't have hardly any water. We might have had, this much water to drink, which is ridiculous. So, but we didn't know anything. I was in my 20s. I didn't know anything about altitude. So, but he tells me about Diamox, and so I make sure I have a prescription for Diamox, and I'm literally taking it every day before I even started the hike. 500 milligram time release once a day. And so I'm taking that starting the day before, and everything's fine. I haven't had any problem until summit night. So I'm taking it at 8 a.m. every day. And summit night, it's like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. We're at 17,000 feet. And I'm all of a sudden, I'm just getting this horrible headache. And I said, okay, well, I have a Diamox pill with me because I was going to take it at the summit. And I thought I better take it now. Otherwise I'm not going to make it, So I took it. And within 15 minutes, the headache was completely gone. It was like a miracle. And then about an hour later, the guide, rest stop, you always have lots of rest stops, right? So don't worry about that. The guide says, okay, let's stop. And I've got a thermos with me with hot tea in it, sweet. And and that sounded great, hot, sweet tea, it's kind of cold out. That really just sounded good. So I drink that. And within 15 minutes, I'm throwing up. And I couldn't do anything about it. I didn't, but after I threw up, I felt fine and went to the rest of the way to the summit. Then in 2013, the same thing happened after I'd summited, came to base camp, final base camp, and they have hot tea. And I drink some, and I'm like just on the edge of throwing up for like 2 hours. It's like fighting this thing. And we had a nurse on the trip, and she said, I have some Zofran. Would you like that? I go, what's that? You go, it's anti-nausea. So I took Zofran, same thing happened 15 minutes later, everything was gone. So I've had really positive experiences with both medications, both for the headaches and nauseousness. In the case of the nauseousness, though, I don't think it might have been partly the elevation because I could have hot sweet tea here, I wouldn't get nauseous, right? So it might have been just a combination of the sweetness and the elevation that made me nauseous. But in both cases, it only was triggered by the hot tea. So anyway, that's that. So those two medicines I would have with you for sure.
But you don't take the prophylactic,
No, I definitely don't take I don't take either of them prophylactic.
prophylactic.
No,
You
but I
just-
have them.
You wait till you're starting to feel
Right.
a symptom and then you
Right.
kick it.
Yeah, that first year I was taking it prophylactically because I was just so
Right,
paranoid about
yeah.
this horrible headache I had 35 years ago
Right.
on this mountain. And then over the years, I realized, well, I don't need to be taking this.
Does it work within 15?
Yeah, it works really fast.
Now, Ken Tolley, he believes in chewing Tums. as well. Yeah.
Well, Tums are good for the nauseousness, but I don't think it does anything for the headache. That's a really good point. I forgot to mention that. So have some Tums with you. And you could do that prophylactically, have 1 or 2 Tums every morning before you start the hike. And that probably prevents you from ever having any nauseousness.
I would just say the most important thing is your feet.
Yeah,
Just
right,
as soon as you get a hot spot, you take care of it right away, because
right.
nothing.
Put
That's
that
one
moleskin
thing
on
to
it right
run
away.
the whole thing is.
Yeah. The pace is slow. Nobody gets left behind. There's always a guide at the end, in case we get strung out. They all know the trail really well. 1 year, and I told her,
So speaking of the feet again, do you ever think about Vaseline stuff? I mean, because is that something you could do in the morning? Sort of lube your feet up, because usually
No, you
That-
don't want,
you don't want to do that.
yeah, you don't want in fact, I heard, and I've had some other people talk about this, what the special ops people do, they use duct tape, and the trick is, you're putting a tough thing, but it's sliding. That's why if you put that liner sock and put the other one there, it slides in there, so it's not doing that rubbing.
Friction.
On your skin.
Friction.
That would be the best.
But if you feel a hot spot, sock and put the bowl skin on it.
Yeah.
If you got problems with toenails like I do,
Yeah.
I don't do that.
Yeah, you got that.
So she really got me hooked on, as a guy, I've never did anything like that, but man, I live by it now, because
Pedicure.
Cause they really put it down like it's hard, and
Don't wait, just discover a pedicure a week before you go to Kilimanjaro, but probably go ahead and discover
You-
pedicure.
you guys have any questions? I see Big Mike is still on there, or Big Mick. He's doing every space camp. So Jonathan, if you go, you won't be the youngest one. How old did you say you were?
27. I just
Okay.
turned 27.
Okay, so we'll have a.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah. Facebook.
Texas.
Yeah.
That's what's going younger.
Okay, so the younger guy is gonna be a Malawian who's a videographer
Oh,
that was trained, is being trained by the videographer Logan that needed the oxygen last year. And he's really, really good. And so
Logan's gone?
his name is Zeke. He goes by Zike. I can't pronounce his last name. And Zeke is short for something much longer. So, but anyway, he's gonna video the whole trip for us. Our safari, our hike, and our water well convention. So anyway, so he's like 21 or 22. So it'd be good to have two young guys.
Yeah.
You know, energize us. Any questions? Mike, did you have any questions? Big Mike, do you have any questions? No? Okay.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I did have one question.
Okay.
So, and I've never packed and weighed stuff to know the answer to this, but do you, with regard to the duffel,
Mhm.
to keep at that 35-pound limit, what liter size bag?
Ooh. Yeah,
Uh,
that's a good question. I've looked at my duffel bags and they never say anywhere on them what size they are. I'll show you what they look like though.
Yeah, it seems like once you rip the tag off, they don't.
Right. So again, this is for Kilimanjaro, but for Everest Base Camp, I have something about this size. It's actually a tougher bag. I can't remember the brand offhand, but I don't know if you can tell by looking at this.
Yeah,
So that's, it's pretty good size.
yeah,
But for Everest Base Camp, they're not as picky about that.
okay.
You might be able to go over it. I would try to stay 30, 35 pounds if you can. But this past year when we went, there were several people that were over and they didn't care. So anyway,
Yeah,
but this is a little smaller one that I have here. I would just say, pack as light as you can, but make sure you have the necessary layers.
We'll do a practice pack,
Yeah, you can do a practice pack. Yeah.
yeah, because I pretty much have all the gear except
Okay.
a duffel, because I'm
Okay.
usually putting everything in a
Yeah.
backpack, so it's not a problem. I'll
Okay.
figure it out. I just didn't know if you knew offhand.
No, I don't.
Uh,
I don't know how to measure the liters of this thing unless I tried to fill it up with water.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. I mean, this has been helpful because I would have packed a heck of a lot more stuff.
Yeah. Any other questions about anything I
Yes,
talked about?
the,
You have the list, the Everest Base Camp list, and if you notice.
Yep.
The first ones are all what I call required, really.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them are like, think about, you might want to add some of them kind of thing. And even the sleeping bag is not on there because I don't really feel like we need sleeping bags, you got the thick blanket and in the tea house, so you got the protection. I mean, it's not like.
I would.
Yeah.
Use mine.
Yeah, so Paul here went with us in 2000 last year. He never used a sleeping bag either, so that's two of us.
Yeah, no, I
There's
stay pretty warm, so if they've got,
Okay.
a place to leave non-mountain stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah,
This
good.
is,
yeah.
the bag we're talking about tonight is
Right.
what's going up the hill,
Right,
but there's a place at the hotel.
Right.
To leave anything you
Yeah.
need for traveling back and forth or in town or.
I may have these two bags with me to carry all my stuff over there. But obviously you're not carrying those on the hike. And so those will stay at Springlands Hotel. So here's what happens. When we fly into Kilimanjaro Airport, we will be met by the safari guide. And we're gonna give somebody as a czar representative, or they're locking up in their office there, our bags that we don't need. So for the safari, all you need is like 2 days worth of stuff, right? And we'll have another meeting called last minute reminders about stuff like this, but you're only gonna need your day pack and a carry-on for your safari, right? You don't really need anything more than that. Now, you may not have enough room in your carry-on and this for everything. And so I always tell people, get a Ziploc bag and those last few things that you think you might need for the safari part of the trip, put it in a spot where you can easily open up the suitcase and grab it, pull it out, zip it back up and have it as a separate bag. And then they'll take those suitcases to Springlands Hotel and lock them up in their locker. for us, and they'll be there when we get back. We've never, ever had any problem with that. They're very good. Super reputable. They've been around 35 years. Zara, they've won all kinds of awards as, you know, best guide company on the mountain, best safari company. I mean, these guys they're really, really good. I can't remember her name, Zanab. Zanab is her name. She started the business 35 years ago. Wonderful lady.
So do you?
Yep.
Water bottle.
Water bottle?
Hot water.
Hot
Oh,
water.
yeah. Yeah, if you're worried about being cold in your sleeping bag, bring one of those, you know, flexible hot water bottles, right? And they'll put hot water in it for you, and you can put it in your sleeping bag with you.
Hut mine all night.
It was.
And you hug it all night.
It's my must have.
Yeah.
It's your must have.
Yeah,
I have like a form bag.
yeah.
Actually,
From Amazon, the sweater on it, and so you're not like, it has like little terminals. Yeah. It was my favorite thing.
No, good point. That might be on the list somewhere as a consider to have. I can't remember.
Don't laugh.
But somebody else was gonna ask something now?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask. Oh, rental. Is it okay to rent a duffel bag and sleeping bag?
Yes, definitely those two things for sure are reliable.
Alright.
These, you gotta be a little bit careful. Because you'll think they're fine, and then you get going on the trip and they keep slipping down, they won't lock. So if you decide you're gonna rent these things, make sure you try them out really well, like open them up and, you know, and push down really hard, make sure it doesn't slip, because then you got something that's not working for the rest of the trip.
You rest them, will they have enough?
Yeah, you know, maybe a month before the trip, those people that wanna rent certain things, first of all, go to their website, Zara Adventures, and find the tab that says rental equipment. See what's listed there, let me know what you want, and I'll say, well, I wouldn't get that, but like the rain jacket I was mentioning, but, you know, certainly. Yeah, we'll put a reservation on everything.
I'm
you
just
want.
thinking duffel bag and.
Yeah.
Sleeping bag.
Sleep bag is, I think, $40 for the whole time, whereas if you buy a 0 degree down bag, it's gonna be $250. You'll save a lot of money.
And they're washed. You said.
Yeah, they should be washed, though that was another complaint Jason had. Jason said, man, my sleeping bags smell. He said, he always had something.
Well, they'll just.
I just remember with their bag, I brought the sleeping bag liner.
Yeah, that's true.
And that gives you
Yeah,
that.
let me see that for a second. I think somewhere on here.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 0 degree bag.
With a hot water.
And you take
Right.
that. Yeah, planes.
I think equipment,
Water bottle, sleeping bag.
solar tent lights,
No, that's it.
I thought I had it listed here, the liner.
Yeah.
Clothing, equipment. Yeah, sleeping bag liner, consider to have, it's on the kind of the third tier down, so I have.
Their bag is not.
Need to have, nice to have, consider to have, so sleeping bag liners right down there, and I've tried those sleeping bag liners 2 or 3 times, and the last couple of times I've used them, I feel all tangled up inside my sleeping bag, I can't stand it, I was like, and it's done with it. So, because it does create a little extra warmth, that's another advantage of having the liners, that you're gonna be a little warmer.
It's also good if it's not very cold to use that just as a little bit of a cover
That's true,
thing.
Yeah.
That's why I take mine.
yeah,
It's not so much the extra 5 degrees when it's
Yeah.
cold, it's when
Yeah.
it's not
yeah,
cold.
that's a good point, yeah, especially early, like on the first night, or
Yeah.
even the second night, you might not wanna be in your sleeping bag, so.
Meredith and I also took an extra blanket last year,
Hmm.
just threw that over the both of us.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, I hadn't heard of that, I didn't know you did that.
yeah, Meredith gets a little colder than I do. So.
Yeah. Any other questions, comments? And you know, I list prices on that list, and that's just what I paid. And not looking for any sales or anything. I was like, okay, I'm going to REI, and somebody told me these are what you need. I just went there and said, I want this. But you can beat those prices big time if you're really, you know, watching for sales. Stuff like that, so. You know, so if money's a concern, and then again, rent those things that are high dollar items like the sleeping bag. Poles can be kind of expensive, so maybe you consider renting those. Any other comments on equipment or clothing or anything from you guys' experience, Paul?
Yeah, definitely the boot size bigger,
Yeah, one size bigger than the boot.
especially going downhill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me tell you, you're gonna make it, There was a blind, when we were there was a blind guy going up that.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Oh,
They're gonna make sure you are gonna.
Number one rule with the company is safety. Okay, that is number one. And number two is summit. So
It is
safely
the
summit.
best guide, it is the best guided hike or whatever,
Yeah.
been there, so.
Or you need a good pair of sunglasses though, right?
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, I think that's on the list. I forgot to mention.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely want to have sunglasses.
Polar, I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Good one.
Yeah.
Well, and I have prescription glasses, so I have prescription sunglasses
Yeah.
I'm using. And they're polarized also.
I think I wore contacts the whole time.
Did you?
So if you're wearing contacts, I mean, I've got daily, so
Yeah,
that
I
can,
did.
so there's no problem doing
And I got
that.
that little lantern.
Oh, so you just, yeah, boom, boom, okay, good, good.
Cause they come by and
Yeah.
they.
Yeah.
You get hot water.
Every morning.
DC, what do you think? Yeah, I haven't heard any questions from you.
Yeah, I'm like, what have I done in myself?
They set up your tent for you at night?
Pardon me?
They set up your
Oh, yeah.
tent for you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. I don't know how to do that.
So we get the great tents.
The tent is set up and after the first day or so, they know which bag to go with.
Yeah, you'll get the.
Everything.
Yeah, so they carry the tents. When you get to camp, your tents are gonna be there, and the first night, they're gonna try to figure out, you know, whose bag is which. And then once they know that, then the next day, you leave, they start taking the tents down, and then they're passing you. The porters are- They're passing you your tent,
Yeah.
and then you get to camp and their tent's there, and your bag is, they tell, it's Dolores, that's your tent. They already know which bag. It's amazing. They're just fantastic.
I'm getting excited now.
It's service like you would
And
imagine.
then the morning before breakfast, you put your Camelback out.
Oh, yeah.
Fill it up. When you get in at night, there's and in the morning, there's a water for washing this kind of stuff. It's a bowl of clean water for.
Yeah, they'll wake you up a half an hour before breakfast, but I'm slow, so I always have an alarm to wake myself up a half an hour before that. I need an hour to get everything repacked, and everything.
Uh-huh.
So when you come to breakfast, so at half an hour before breakfast, they'll say, do you have any water bottles that need to be filled? Or Camelbacks, and you'll say yes, you'll hand it to them to the tent, and then the next half hour you finish packing everything up, so that after breakfast, all you have to do is put your filled Camelback back in your pack, and you're ready to go, because you've already packed everything else. Yes.
So,
Good, you have a question? Nice,
question really. I'm just double checking
yes.
that the whole of these is just walking, there's no climbing involved.
We call it, we call it clean water climb because it's catchy.
So.
Oh, okay.
Michael,
No, hanging from the life. Okay, there's the summit.
Yeah.
Put your crampons on and get up there.
say Andy's like, there were, I experienced it as narrow. Is it like that on Kilimanjaro, like little narrow
You know,
areas?
there's one day,
One kiss.
yeah, there's one day, it's day 4, no, day 5. So day 5, so you're leaving Barranco Camp, which is so you have Big Tree Camp, Shira One Camp, Moore Camp, and then you have Barranco Camp. Well, day 5, then you do go up this steeper area, they call it Barranco Wall. Now, when I first
It's
heard
not
that.
climbing up.
Now, there's a couple places you will use your hand, okay, but otherwise, that's hardly, and there's one place it will be a little narrow. And so they have this rock here, and they call it Kissing Rock, and we ask everybody to kiss the rock as you go by, and then
But it's about 5 feet.
yeah, maybe
But
it's
there's
5.
not a steep drop below where
Yeah,
you
no,
fall off.
it's steep, but you have plenty of room. It's like 5 feet.
Oh,
Like I
yeah,
said,
okay.
yeah.
It's not narrow like the
Yeah,
Andes.
they are gonna make sure.
Yeah, I would, no, I'm not into that thing where you.
No,
jump down, it's like,
no, we're not
okay,
gonna do that.
No.
No, I know.
And you know, after the trip, sometimes I'll ask people, what was your favorite day of the trip? You know, and you'd think most people would say summit, being at the top.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people say, oh, I love the Barranco Wall day, because it was different.
Yeah.
It was different. There were some boulders, so, yeah.
Plus we get the hop and formation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so, yeah, then when you get to the top of the Barranco Wall, you're above the cloud layer. So there's this permanent cloud layer you're looking out, and it's just incredible. It's just incredible. above that now. And then everybody in unison tries to jump at the same time. Yeah. And capture that. They actually do a slow motion video of that. I'm not gonna tell you too much.
One more question. So on the average, how many hours and how much miles?
Good question.
That's good.
That's a good question. So the first day is a half a day. It takes about 3 or 4 hours to drive to the start of the gates, and we'll have lunch. And then we'll have like a 3 or 4 hour hike, 4 hours at the very most the first day. And maybe it's, I don't know, 3 miles. I'd say on average, we go about a mile an hour. Which is, we're walking about a mile an hour. I think the whole thing is like 40 some miles in 8 days.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I would say on average, it's 6 hours of hiking a day. There'll be some days where we'll get to camp before lunch, or maybe a late lunch. Like if we start at 8 AM, we might get to camp at 1 PM.
So what do you do the rest of the day?
You just.
You never.
organize your
Do your stuff, but just, okay.
Okay, here's a favor that I'm gonna want all of
You take book up, do you take a book up there with you or something?
A book.
Devotional.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
You forgot the
Yeah,
devotional.
oh, yeah. Well, that's really not equipment, but. Yeah, so on the hike, everybody's gonna get this at the airport. It's a devotional based on the life of Abraham, written by our senior pastor, Jason Shepherd. And so it starts off with day 1, depart, okay? Genesis 12:1, the Lord said to Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. How appropriate is that for the first day leaving the US to go to Tanzania, right? Now, you grew up in Africa, right? So, it's not totally, but it's pretty close. I mean, you said the only country you've been to is Nigeria in Africa, so it does apply to you too. But anyway, so every day there's another verse, and then a plate, and then there's a principle. So there's the verses, the principle, consider, so like a little sermonette, and then you can reflection. You can write something in here in your journal to remember, for that day. But what I'm going to ask everybody to do on this trip, and I hope you're willing to do it, is maybe 3 or 4 out of maybe 3 days out of the hike, or maybe only 2 days out of the hike. Get your cell phone out, put it in selfie mode and video. And the very first thing I'd love you to do, maybe the second or third day of the hike is, and we're going to start doing something like this with all of our trips, but why did you decide to do the clean water climb? And just think about that question, and then do a 30-second answer and record yourself answering that. And then we're going to start using those, hopefully, but if I get enough people to do it, so one might be, well, how'd you hear about the clean water climb in 30 seconds, right? So these are going to be things that I would love to put on Instagram or TikTok, preferably. I've been told, and I know TikTok is like a little controversial and everything, so maybe that's going to go away. But if you had these little 30-second video testimonies, so to speak, of all the people that have done the climb, and the same thing in Malawi. What do you think of this project, the sustainability project? Maybe after the first day, you go off someplace where it's quiet and just do a 30-second video of what your impressions was of this amazing place, right? And then maybe one for what was it like going out to a village and seeing people scoop water out of a hole in the ground, and what was it like seeing how they reacted to the water, and also even the gospel message, how they reacted to that. We share Bible stories when we're down in Malawi at each village well repaired, and we have 5 of them. And Jesus calms the storm, Jesus casts the demons out of the Gerasene demonic, Jesus heals Bartimaeus, the blind beggar. Jesus tells Nicodemus he must be born again, and Jesus tells the woman at the well everything she's ever done, and that he's the Messiah she's been looking for. So those are the 5 key stories that we share at every village or school or trading center or whatever. And we at the end we always ask, well, what did you think of the story? And it's amazing. The people love the stories. And then at the very end of that, we do like an altar call. Who wants to follow Jesus today? Or who wants to rededicate their lives to Christ today? It's really for me, it's almost the highlight of the trip is that. And never once has there been a village or a medical clinic or anything where people didn't respond. It's just amazing. This is a huge blessing.
Better than here.
What?
Better than here if you get to the plunge.
Very much. Any more questions, especially regarding equipment? But any questions about the trip, you know, especially this is brand new for you and more or less brand new for you. I have some stuff I'll give to both of you, like about fundraising and stuff like that, and we can talk about, if you have time to stay after the meeting, I'd love to kind of catch both of you up a little bit on some of that stuff.
Okay.
But as far as
flights and stuff, we've got we have a carry-on, would you recommend like putting, having a smaller bag that we're just gonna have overnight clothes in for?
Yeah.
Especially the day over in Chicago, if we decide to do that.
Right,
And
right.
so we'll have all that separate, so,
Yeah.
because these bags aren't being checked, or are they being checked through, or we're not sure.
Well, we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
We don't know if we
So-
have to, well, I think if we fly up the night before to Chicago, so the plan was to leave Houston on July 11th at 5 AM to go up to Chicago, and then from Chicago, Ethiopia, and then Kilimanjaro on Ethiopian Airlines. But since that's so early and you're supposed to be at the airport 2 hours before international flights, that means you have to be at the airport at like 1 AM. I mean, 3 AM. And that means you gotta leave the house, depending where you live, to be safe, 2 AM. It's like, oh my gosh, I think, man, wouldn't it make sense? And in 2021, we went down to Houston and at the airport and found a place to stay. Was it the Marriott?
We stayed at the Marriott at the airport.
We stayed at the Marriott at the airport, but we still had to get up really early.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, maybe this year we just, the travel agent is suggesting it, may just fly up there the evening before, get a really good night's sleep. You don't have to get up super early and,
The flight's at 10, like.
yeah, the flight's at 10, so you don't have to be at the airport at 8, so he's working on that.
You're right there, yeah.
So I would recommend that we all do that, that way we're all
The
together.
other thing as far as carry-on,
Yeah.
boots are the only thing you really can't buy new
Yeah.
to work, so
Great reminder.
where or carry your boots.
Yeah.
You can buy clothes, you can buy toothpaste. you
Right,
can-
everything, yeah.
Well, you can even buy a floppy hat, but I never leave that anywhere. I never pack that, because that's like.
Yeah.
It's got him.
So to the hotel question, which took kind of here,
Right.
your boots are the only thing that.
Yeah, I wear my boots on the plane as uncomfortable sounding that is.
Did you carry your day pack on? That's what I did.
Yeah, that's what I do with mine. So I had my, overnight toothbrush, stuff, normal boots, like Mike said. And had to change clothes.
Yeah, you can just use your day pack as your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
first
The only
day.
place we ran into the day pack was on that flight from Malawi. I remember they were weighing the actual carry-on.
Yeah, yeah.
They were giving us a hard time.
The airlines are crazy. They're not consistent from one year to the next, certainly from one airline to the next. Like Qatar, they used to be fantastic. They never weighed any of your carry-ons or anything. This last year, we flew Qatar and I'm at the airport and they offered upgrade to business for only $1,500. I thought, I am doing that. And so I was scheduled for economy. I ended up upgrading. But by doing business, I knew about a week before. Okay, so in business, you were allowed, and we're not taking Qatar. And this because of some crazy stuff they did with prices. So we were going to do Qatar. We switched over to Ethiopia. But I get to the airport. I've got three check bags because they allowed 3 in business. And I was bringing a whole bunch of extra stuff over that was going to leave there in Malawi and in Tanzania. And then I have my 2 carry-ons, which are stuffed full of camera lenses. And I mean, just they were way over their recommended weight. And so they said, you're gonna take this stuff out of there. It's like, I don't want to put my camera, my DSLR in these check bags. I'm sorry, sir, you just can't have that much weight in your carry-ons. And so just go off to the side and take some of it and put it in those. And so I did all that. And I get back and they're checking the check bags through and they get to the one that I put all the camera equipment in. It's like, oh no, this is
Too heavy.
This is too heavy.
Yeah.
I said, well, you just told me to take everything out of there and put it there and go, okay, just put it back.
Oh
my God. Wasted an hour.
Done is if somebody's light, we can share.
Yeah,
stuff.
we have done that. Yeah, something like this.
You can also take your jacket and stick
Yeah,
things
yeah,
up.
yeah. If you have a good sized jacket, like a puppy jacket or something like that, and you have extra pockets in it, stuff all your extra batteries and just any small, heavy, dense things, maybe your headlamp, just stuff as much weight in your jacket. They're not gonna weigh you and they're not gonna weigh your jacket. So that's one way of getting around some of that.
Have you ever flown anything with any airlines?
Yes, I have it.
2 years ago.
Oh, they good?
Yeah, they're fine. And what will happen when we leave Kilimanjaro, we'll fly to Addis and we'll stay overnight. And they will take you in a shuttle to a hotel, feed you dinner. You stay in the room and then they feed you breakfast, they pick you up with a shuttle, take you back to the airport. That's because it's more than an 8-hour layover, and so they offer that as part of the package. They don't charge you extra for that. And then so that's happened twice to me on Ethiopian, and then Turkish is doing that now out of Nepal. When you go from Kathmandu to Istanbul, they did the same exact thing. I thought, man, this is great, you know. And then you get a nice night of sleep
Yeah.
on the way back.
Yeah.
And so we'll have a nice night of sleep on the way to Malawi.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Istanbul is the most incredible
Oh,
airport I've ever been in my life. I mean, they've got like, it's like, oh,
mhm.
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. You could
Oh.
play basketball and go, I mean, it's
Golf, race.
everything you could imagine in there.
Here's another thing about the
Showers, sleeping quarters, it's unbelievable.
They have more pizza.
Pizza.
So here's what happened also last year in Qatar. Not only did they have the big 360-degree weight thing, but when I get to Doha, so I have a business class ticket, right? I get to Doha, so I go up to the business class lounge and I go, oh, you can't come in here. You upgraded to business.
Oh,
You are
Wait, I just gave you $59. You're not gonna get $30 for food.
yeah, come on, yeah.
So, I mean, they've gone from one penny.
Yeah, that's like
incredible service.
Just a-
It's just a matter of 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, it's still.
Maybe it came down with oil prices.
Well, that could be. I just wonder if they lost a lot of money in COVID and they're just trying to nickel and dime their way back to being solvent again. I don't know. Okay. Mike, unless you have anything, I probably should let you go instead of hanging on and listening to all these stories.
Sounds good. It's
Okay.
very informational. I
Okay.
appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome. But, feel free to write, email me, text me if you want to talk on the phone about anything. Just let me know. I'm available, most of the time. It's a real busy weekend this weekend, but after that, it's going to get lighter.
Sounds good. I've got a
Okay.
bunch of the grandkids over this weekend, so they'll
Okay,
keep me
okay.
busy.
Okay. Well, I'm going to end the meeting then.
All right.
The Zoom. Okay, thanks, Mike.
Yep.
We'll see.
Have a good
Looking forward
evening,
to,
everyone.
looking forward to meeting you.
Likewise.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Is Mike in check?